Hello again, welcome back to Asgard, and welcome back to Project Ozone. Today we are going to be working on applied energistics again. So I think we've got everything in order. I was looking at some of the recipes and stuff, things that we would need and whatnot, and I think we have about everything in order that we can move forward with AE2. Now I will say that this episode is going to be a world download episode. So I did some thinking, and what I'm going to do is in today's episode, I'm not going to tear apart the logistics system. We're going to work on some basic AE2 stuff, get that stuff in place. And then between this episode and next, I'll probably start tearing out some of the logistics system. So that way, if you guys are interested in checking out the logistics system as it stands right now, it'll be there for the world download. After this world download, it will be taken down. But I know Harukane made a very, very good point. That is, and I agree with it, and it's kind of what I was thinking as well, that I would like to finish this base. I don't just want to let it rot and not come back here anymore, right? So we are going to tear out the logistics system, continue work on this base, and once the FPS and stuff is and the crashes are cleaned up, it'll be wonderful because I can get back to working on this hopefully. So, but if you guys want it, it'll be in the world download. If you want to check out the logistics system or whatever. So anyways, the first thing that we are going to do today is get our ME controller. So this requires concentrated cloud seed buckets, right? Pure fluics, osmium crystals, skystone, resonant machine frame. We've got pretty much all of this stuff. One thing I am going to do is I'm going to order... Oh, that's right, I already ordered one. Okay, never mind. So I'm going to grab that resonant machine frame, also skystone. We're going to need that. I'm just going to grab a stack of that and get that smelting up so we can get our skystone blocks. And the only other major thing that we need to get, because I mean engineering processors, pure fluics, we have thousands of those things. Concentrated cloud seed bucket. We are going to have to get that. So we're going to have to make some vats. We haven't actually got into vats yet, if I recall, in this series. I will say that, well, I was going to say we're going to use them for zombie setup, zombie head generators, but we have a cow for nutrient distillation, so we don't actually need the vats for that necessarily. Yeah, we don't have any. Okay, so let me order just a few of those. Honestly, I think one would be good. Gold furnace, crucible, machine chassis. Okay. Alright, so there's our machine chassis, our golden furnace. There's some porcelain clay, because I am going to get a crucible real quick. We'll go ahead and grab that. I will have to fire it, but that's fine. Electrical steel, and then we're going to need some fluid tank. I think we've got everything now. I don't need that mercury right now. I think we've got everything that we need for our vat. Alright, so first up, we'll get our 2 fluid tanks. Get those running. I am going to go ahead and get this crucible smelted. There's our skystone. There's our crucible. There's our fluid tanks, and then we need to do like this. What goes in the middle? I cannot recall. Machine chassis. There we go. Now we got our vat. Awesome. Okay, so let's go ahead. Oh, we had a quest for the vat, apparently. In Delta. Yes, okay. So we'll go ahead and take a reward bag for that. What did we get? It's a good bag. And we got 4 muffling upgrades for mechanism. Not something I generally use, but I will in this series just for you guys, if you guys want it. If you guys don't like mechanism machines running. But we'll just go ahead and put our vat here for right now. And then for our concentrated cloud seed. That's clay, or what was the other thing? I don't know. Cloud seed, we're going to need clay or salt or... Okay. Salt and ice, I guess would be the best way to go. So let's go ahead. I've got all that stuff. There we go. So there's our bucket of cloud seed. I'll throw that in there. And then we need, basically it's just salt to get our concentrated cloud seed. Oh, we need 2 buckets, don't we? For the controller. Honestly, I'm going to have to get this stuff automated fairly quickly because I'm going to want more than 1 controller. But I'll do that later, I think. It's also possible we may find a cow Because I know there is normally cloud seed cows. I just don't presently have one. So I may actually, after this episode, I may go cow hunting. Or maybe here in a minute. I don't know. We'll see. But I think that's what we'll do is we'll see about getting a cloud seed cow. And if we can't find one, then we'll automate this. Because honestly, I think we should be able to find a cloud seed cow. Oh, I need to get my concentrated cloud seed out. Okay, one more run of that. And there we go. Concentrated cloud seed. Okay, so now I think we've got pretty much everything that we need for our controller. I believe so. But I figure with this pack, I think pretty much if we automate everything as we go, life just gets a whole lot easier, I think. So there we go. Emme controller quest is done. Let's go ahead and turn that in. Aha. And we'll take the reward bag for that. Ooh, it's a legendary reward bag. We got a chunk loader and 10 spot loaders. Awesome. Which actually, I need that chunk loader. I need to set one up on Mercury. Because I haven't done that yet. But it's not really a big rush. Because, I mean, we're not running the system right now for ore processing or anything like that. So it's not a huge rush. They also want us to get all these different cables. Okay. And the crafting GUI. They want the crafting terminal, the fluid terminal, and the gas terminal. Okay, so let's see about making these. These are actually going to be fairly important. So for the crafting terminal, we're going to need... That stuff's all easy, but ME terminal, illuminated panel, and an inventory panel. Wow. Okay. How do we make illuminated panels in this pack? That is standard. Awesome. Okay, so I'm going to want an illuminated panel. And we actually don't have any quartz glass at the moment. So let me order... I want a stack of this stuff. This is something that we're going to need, and that'll make us like 4 stacks of quartz glass. And then we'll get our illuminated panel. There we go, 3 of those, and that's enough to make the panels that we need. Okay, so next up for our gears. Let me order, I believe it was 4 vibrant alloy gears, I think. Something like that. Yeah, it's 4 vibrant alloy gears. We're going to need a vibrant crystal, which those I believe should be automated. Remote awareness is not expensive. Nutrient distillation, we have a cow for that. Sentient ender, I am going to need an enderman head. Let's see. Alright, let's go ahead and order our remote awareness upgrade. There's that. And then the inventory panel. Oh yeah, the vibrant crystals. That's what I was forgetting about. And now I'll grab the bucket of nutrient distillation. The sentient ender. Okay, so we're going to need 2 solarium, vibrant alloy, silicon, and an enderman head. I actually didn't think to look if I'm going to need inventory panels for the other 2. Whoops. We'll find out in a second, though. We have 3,000 enderman heads, so I think we're okay on that. I do believe that we are a-okay. And I'm also going to need some kind of soul vial. I'm not for sure... Is it an enderman soul vial? I want to say that's normal, isn't it? I'm not going to worry about setting up a recipe for this. Due to the fact that we're going to be changing everything over, you know, after this episode. So, or that's my goal, is after this episode. Okay, so for the sentient ender, we need a soul vial with a witch or a wither witch. Is that normal? I feel like normally it's just an enderman soul. But I could be wrong. I will say that in one of the upcoming episodes, my plan is, because I've kind of been holding off on a little bit of automation once I realized, which I'm sure you guys could tell, I haven't been automating as much since I realized I'm going to have to change over our entire system. I mean, there's really no other way around it. I cannot do as big as I want to with logistics, with the lag and everything going on. But in one of the next couple episodes, a lot of it will probably be done off camera, honestly, because we've covered spawners and stuff. But we're going to set up a room for making soul vials for pretty much most everything, I think. We'll see where I stand on XP. Last I looked, that bedrockium drum was nearly filled, and I had like 900 levels in the XP obelisk. So right now I've got it pulling out the levels, or the liquid XP, because we're going to make up a bunch of spawners. And these first spawners that we make are going to be, you know, different mobs, and we're going to set them to create soul vials. So if we wanted soul vials, we would have them. That way, just in the event, I mean, even some of the mobs, you know, we don't necessarily need souls for. I mean, we'll need them for, like, wither witches and zombies and endermen and stuff, but I figure for certain stuff, I will say, I mean, like Erebus mobs and stuff like that, I'm not going to make spawners to get soul vials for them. I am probably going to make spawners for them, because I would like to have a really big, intricate spawn area. And kind of what I was thinking is maybe doing one of our space bases as a mob-focused base. So it'll be like a big base with like lots of little areas for, you know, all the different mobs in the game that we come across. You know, which we may have to expand our XP setup for that, because I'm wanting to do, you know, it's kind of like our bedrock setup. We had to expand that because I was wanting to use so much bedrock and make such a big farm. Well, I'm kind of in the same boat with the mobs. I want spawners. Ideally, long term, I would like to have a spawner for every mob in the game and have them all toggleable on and off, and then have a setup where, or have a switch that we can pull to shut all of them off if we wanted to. I'm having no luck finding a witch here. But it would be nice to have just an area that's focused on mobs and is pretty much like the capital of Mobdom. I guess would be how you put it. Okay, I'll tell you what, I'm just going to wait till nighttime to go find a witch because it's taking forever to find one. The fluid panel requires logic processor, annihilation core, formation core, and a couple pieces of blue dye in addition to our illuminate panel, which that actually is not bad. Alright, I'll tell you what, I'm going to go get a bit more Fluix dust so we can make some Fluix pearls. That's another thing I'm going to have to get automated very, very soon. Making Fluix pearls, making the Fluix dust and stuff. But once again, I'm not that worried about it right this second because we're changing over the system. So, and the recipes, of course, from logistics pipes aren't going to translate over into AE2, so there's really no reason to bother with it. And there we go. 3 Fluix pearls. Fluid terminal. There's that. Gas terminal. What am I missing here? Oh, I didn't grab all the stuff for it. Whoops. I'm just waiting on the logic processor to get here right now. There's that. Okay, so what was it? The gas terminal that we needed? There's that. Okay. So they also want us to make a fluid interface. How do you make these? Couldn't be easier. I'll tell you what. I'm going to make like a few stacks of Fluix pearls because we're going to need them. There's really no sense beating around the bush at this point, I don't think. So there we go. There's 13 formation cores. I'm just waiting on that last bit of Fluix to get sag milled. And it is a blood moon right now, so there should be plenty of witches out. There should be plenty of everything out, honestly. What I might do fairly soon, I'm not sure where I'm going to set the mob base up at. But what I'm thinking is I'll make a bunch of... Hey, blazing pyrotheum. Burn everything to the ground. Alright, that works. What I may do is make a whole bunch of soul vials, and we'll have like a little soul vial collection spot, and I'll just start capturing every single mob that I find that is not currently in our collection. So that includes Erebus, that includes Aether, that includes Nether, that includes, you know, all the mobs everywhere. We'll just start collecting all of them because I'd like to have just a mob facility. And what I'm kind of thinking is we'll do each room like kind of like a glassed-in like prison cell, and then have the mobs spawning in there and getting killed. We'll probably do catwalks from Galacticraft. Those are actually really, really cool, and they make perfect like walkways for the upper floors. So maybe have like different wings and stuff. Maybe it would be cool to even have like a Nether wing and an Erebus wing and an Aether wing and all that stuff. And we'll do like Galacticraft as well, because those mobs actually drop different things. I mean, realistically, I don't foresee us needing that much of everything coming in, but, you know, it's Ozone. We're going to do it just because we can do it. And honestly, I mean, once we get into the dire crafting stuff, we are going to need a lot of, like, everything coming in. That's why I want to do the mining setup and stuff. You know, even though we've got the crops creating all the different metals and stuff that we could ever need, once we get to dire crafting, it's going to be a different story. So I do have plans to kind of combat that and make our lives a whole lot easier with all of that. I am going to need some XPs for this. So there's that. 10 levels. That's not a problem. So we got 930 levels, and right now this has 20 million liquid XP in there. So probably get up to about level 1000 on that. If I recall correctly, those experience obelisks, their level cap is 2000 or something like that, if I recall correctly. So I do have some ideas for expanding the XP generation. But, I mean, once we set up the mob area, we'll have so much XP coming in from that as well. That is in our near future, just for the record. Okay, so the crafting terminal. Man, the Emme terminal, period, is an inventory panel. Bah. Alright, so we're going to need our gears, our remote awareness, sentient ender, vibrant crystals. Then I just have to get a bucket real quick of nutrient distillation. Luckily, that's something that we have being produced by cows. So it's like somewhere in here. Right here. Okay. And I will say that since this pack has extra cells in it, AE2 is going to be a lot of fun because extra cells is... Honestly, it is better. It's like the best fluid management ever. It's great, and we're going to have a lot of fun with that. So... anyways, it's that plus the inventory panel. There's our Emme terminal. And then I've got a crafting table and a processor ordered up here. So there's that and that. There's that, and our crafting terminal. A much bigger table achievement. Okay, so we have now completed our crafting GUI quest. We'll go ahead and grab our reward bag. And it's just a good bag. Soapy water, soap, and super soapy water. Alright, so next up on here, they want us to do the spatial I.O. We'll get into that, but I'm in no rush for that. That's not something I'm concerned with using right this second. Okay, I actually just got back from the theaters, so I went and saw Wonder Woman. And I will say, I'm not going to give away any spoilers or anything like that, but I will say it was excellent. It was so good. I had a lot of hype for it, and I will say that I was not disappointed in the least by it. I was very, very happy with it. So, anyways, moving on. Okay, welcome back. I actually did a bit of crafting working on the quests here. If we take a look, you can see I've knocked out a few quests, storage buses, exporters, Emme interfaces. I was recording that, and then it was just like, I don't want to spend the whole episode, just crafting parts of AE2. So even though we're going to leave logistics pipes for now, we're not going to tear it down, we can still start setting up our AE network. So I did a bit of planning, and I think our controller is actually going to go up here. And what we're going to do is we're going to have this floor primarily for storage and stuff. And then this floor up here is going to be for crafting and whatnot. So basically our AE network is going to be roughly 2 floors. I mean, this floor is also going to be for the Quantum Link. We'll probably use Quantum Link up here as well, because we're going to want to connect up to all the different space bases and stuff like that as well. So I figured we'll go ahead and start working on the actual storage aspect of our AE network, and then next episode we'll work on auto crafting. Is my goal. Now I will say that as we move forward, this room is going to stay. So I know there was some desire to leave this room, and yeah, this room is definitely going to stay. This room is going to get torn out, and it's going to be converted over probably for deep storage, and I may even link it back into this room. I'm not for sure just yet. I do want to do some deep storage setup within this section, and then this wall over here is going to be Emme drives. Okay. So that's my goal anyway. That's my plan. So let's go ahead, and I'm actually going to glass in. Once we get the Emme drive set up, I'm actually going to glass that section in. So this wall is actually going to be brought forward just a little bit with the glass wall. But Anyways, let's go ahead and set up our controller. And I went ahead and crafted a second controller here. And the reason is let me actually get some cobblestone. And of course I planned out my actual controller setup with cobblestone. That's how I always do it. Just so I don't have to make all those controllers initially. But I've got them. I've got access to them. Now I will say that this setup is going to be kind of like a long-term thing. We're going to go ahead and get into P2P and all that because really resources aren't an issue. P2P tunnels aren't expensive in this pack. Memory cards, none of that stuff seems to be very expensive. So I think what we'll do is we'll start with this controller here. And then we're going to need a bit of dense cable. I mean, I have one dense cable right here, but that's not really enough for what I want to do. So what we're going to do is we're going to craft up just a bunch of or covered cables is what we want. Just a whole bunch of covered cables, which is just wool. So let me see. I actually get a bunch of these. Request successful. And once we get auto crafting in place, this is going to be so much easier to expand on. So that's why I want to, next episode, just move straight into auto crafting and get that stuff, you know, up and going. So let's go ahead and get, we'll get 2 stacks of wool, I guess. And we'll go ahead and craft up 2 stacks of covered cables. That'll get us started with smart cable and dense cable. Alright, and then for the, let's see, for the covered, or for the dense cable, I'm going to want a bit of this stuff. So we'll go ahead and, let's see, I'm going to go ahead and order like a stack's worth of crafts for that. And we'll get just a bunch of dense cable. Honestly, 17, that's plenty. I'm happy with that. Alright, so next up, smart cable. If I recall correctly, smart cable is just covered with redstone, right? Nope, it's not. Oh, it's redstone and glowstone. Okay. Alright, and then we're going to go ahead and get like 64 of this because we'll use a lot more smart cable than the dense cable. Or we'll get 48, that's fine for right this second. Okay. And then we're going to need some dye to color it. We're also going to need a P2P. We'll go ahead and get 2 P2P MEs. So let's order 1, 2 of those. I figure P2P is going to be something I definitely want to get into, so we might as well go ahead and start off with it so I don't have to change it over later. You know, I'm already having to change over my entire sorting system. I think one time is plenty. Alright, and there's the memory card. And then I guess we're done with that. Okay, so now what I want to do is I'm going to have to bring power over to this, right? So let me get just a few conduits. I don't know where the closest power connection is. Probably, I was thinking it'd be right in there somewhere. Go ahead and get like a stack of energy conduits. And oh, let me also get like quartz cable. Okay, actually right here would be a good spot to go up, from what I can tell. Okay, so we'll just bring up our energy conduits right through here. Basically, I just need it to connect to our main energy line. Is our primary concern at this point. Break that off. My inventory's a mess right now, but that's okay. And I tell you what, let me throw that down. I'm going to move this controller over. There's no real significance for where I had the initial one at. So we're actually going to put it right there, just so it's a little bit closer. And this will be the one that has to receive all the power, so. And I will say the floor is going to be up just a little bit, which it'll work out for the design, because I want that kind of sticking between the floors. So we'll still have room for these conduits to run. I mean, I could paint them, of course, but we'll be okay. Alright, so that's plugged up. That has power. You'll notice the controller is now flickering. Actually, you know what? Slight change of plans here. I want this controller actually right here first. Okay. Now, eventually this is going to be a controller, but for right now, it's not going to be. So, alright, so I want that controller there, and the reason being is I want to actually run some power over, just like that, and then we'll just plug in a piece of Fluix cable to that. So that should give power to this controller, which it is, but we've created two separate networks. Now, I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time talking about networks and stuff. I've done AE tutorials in the past, so we're going to move forward assuming that you know how the basics of AE work. You know, I've done tutorial series. This isn't really a tutorial series, so. But anyway, so we've got two networks here, and basically this is going to be our primary network, all these blocks around here, and this is going to be one of our transfer networks. Now, we'll say there's going to be another transfer network on the top, because I'm going to have each one pumping in to one side and then pumping out on one side. So we'll have 32 channels going in, 32 channels going out through P2P networks. So then what we're going to do is let's actually color a little bit of this cable. I think the first color that I'm going to go with, let's see, let's actually go with red. Okay. Alright, so first up we'll go ahead and color a little bit of dense cable, and then we'll color a little bit of smart cable, just to get us started with here. And we're just going to bring this out like that. Now, eventually I'll probably have to do a I'll probably do a cable anchor right there, maybe. I guess it's not really a big deal. But I will say there is some significance to the size of this. It's 16, and we're going to use one of each dyed cable. So one of each color is going to be around this section. So, but let's go ahead. We're going to plug this into a P2P. Basically, just it's going to go straight into a P2P. Okay, and then we're over here. Let's do a piece of dense Fluix coming out the top of this. And then what we'll do is just do some smart cable Fluix, and we'll just bring this over. The dense cable will come up, and then what we'll do is we'll have like 8 channels coming on this side, 8 on this side, 8 on that side, 8 on that side. Okay, and I'll actually probably raise this up by 1. Or no, I'm gonna raise this up a few, actually, by 2. That should be, yeah, that should be big enough. Let's see. Yeah, that'll be perfect, because that'll be 7 high, which of course is the maximum. So let me go ahead and grab just a little bit of cobblestone so I can show you what I'm thinking. And I promise it will make sense once everything's all said and done. It will, it will. Okay, so we'll bring this up by 2. Okay, so basically the structure will be like that now. That way I have plenty of space up here, so I don't have to worry about these cables connecting or looking funny the way that they connect or anything. And I didn't mean 32 going in, I meant 16 going in on each side. I mean, technically I could expand it so I had 32 going in on each side, but for right now I'm going to plan for 16 and 16. Really, it's more than we'd need, chances are, but the nice thing is we have plenty of options to expand down the road if we want to. So anyways, now that we've got that, we'll have, okay, the P2P is going into there, it's got power, that's all good. And so then what we'll do is we'll have dense Fluix come down, and we'll probably have this kind of built out, maybe like a pillar is kind of what I'm thinking. That kind of connects up, and then this is actually going to be glassed in, and then you'll see, you know, the controller right there, right? It makes sense in my head. Promise. I promise it does. Alright, so we'll go ahead and just remove that. And we'll just run this over to here, right? And this is going to be where our ME fixtures start. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to use a super soaring drive that runs all the way down this. And then I'll probably put some core right here, I think. I'll have to remodel this room a little bit. I mean, like I said, it was originally planned for logistics, but I've got an idea that should work fairly well. Oh no, I want, oh, I actually did the core 14 on the corners. Okay, never mind. Which will be fine, because, what I'm thinking is we'll have core blocks there. I guess I could land, it would be a little bit quicker. And then we'll have them along this corner, right? And I may end up doing carpenter's blocks. I'm not for sure. Probably. Because I think I've smoothed these other corners. So yeah, I'll probably end up doing carpenter's blocks. But I'll do that later on. So anyways, what we'll do is we'll have... so we'll have two sections. And then over here, this will be core, right? I'll tell you what, it doesn't really need to be right now. Not right there anyway. I almost forgot that I'm actually going to have that glassed in. So the core blocks will actually be one forward. Okay. So it'll be more like that. I'm just going to have to bring this whole wall kind of forward. But just to give you guys an idea, I want to kind of show you what I'm thinking for the, at least for the fixture part. So that's going to be brought forward. And it's going to have 6 blocks, right? And that's like, that's kind of your ideal amount for a Super Soaring setup, is 6. Because then you're going to need 2 for your storage bus and 2 for your interface. So we'll go ahead and remove this stuff. I'm going to go ahead and break that open. There we go. And then let's see, we've got a dense cable line that runs down. I'm going to go ahead and bring that down one more. And then what we'll do is we'll have... smart cable come out from there, and I'm gonna have to go through and cable facade all this. We'll make a pillar, and then it's gonna kind of run through. I will say this room is gonna get a bit more decoration now that we're gonna be spending a bit more time in here. I want to break up the monotony. You know, it's all just Tyrian blocks right now. That was just the original floor, and it was gonna have detail put in. I haven't put the detail in, which I'm kind of glad that I waited. You know, since we're changing over to AE now. So with the smart cable, then what we're gonna do, we'll go ahead and bring this back just a bit. To like right there, I guess. And then what we'll do is we'll have some dense red cable come out right there. We'll go ahead and plug in our output P2P onto that dense red, and then we'll have our smart cable right there. Okay, so now we just have to plug up our memory card real quick. So we will shift right click, and then right click. Right now it says device. There we go, device online. Okay, so that is now getting its channels from there, basically. Okay, so now we can just plug up our smart cable. Just kind of run that up and along to there. And then, I mean, technically I could just use Fluix back here. You're not going to be able to see it. And we'll never touch it once it's put up, so we'll just use Fluix. That's fine. And then we just have to get our ME drive fixtures. There they are. Went ahead and made the first 6, so it's a start anyways. And then what we'll do is we'll just put these on like right here. Tell you what, I've actually changed my mind. I think I just want the standard ME drive instead of the fixtures, because I mean the drives hold 10 storage discs. The fixtures only hold 6, and honestly the drives would work just as well for the setup that I want to do. So I think we're just going to go with the standard drives instead. The fixtures are nice, but more of like a flat space kind of thing. I don't really need that right here, because I do want these kind of glassed in along the wall, right? So we might do some, actually we will use those fixtures elsewhere, so it's not really a big concern, but not in this room. In this room I don't want those. So let's go ahead, order ourselves, say like 10 of those. I've got plenty of mercury ingots in here, so it's not really a big concern. So we'll start out with 10 ME drives. I mean, honestly, this is already way more storage than we would necessarily need. But another nice thing is if we decide to do auto inputs with the drives, which we probably will in the next few episodes as we work on AE, basically where you can access a terminal and just throw drives into the ME system, you know, for storage. We'll probably plug that up, and then we'll want the ME drives anyways. So that'll work fine. Alright, so we'll have our ME drives right there, and then what we'll do is we'll go ahead and set this up real quick, remove some of these blocks so we've got access to this area back here. So there's our ME drives, and then what we'll do is we'll have, like, these should be online. So for example, let me get a crafting terminal, and for right now we'll just plug this up like right here. Okay, the crafting terminal I am going to leave like in this area because eventually it's going to be on this wall when you walk in, but for right now I'm leaving the logistics network, so I don't even want to mess with that section over there right now. But for example, let's see, let's get ourselves like a 64K ME storage. We'll go ahead and throw it in there. It's got 0 items right now. We throw in the Azure block. There we go. It's got 1 type, right? Okay, so then what I want to do is, let's make sure that, we'll go ahead and change this to a flat ME interface. And then I should have a storage bus around. Actually, I think it's in here, isn't it? By the way, since I actually crafted the majority of this stuff off camera, one thing I do want to point out is, or actually 2 things I want to point out. First off, these quests here for the buses, the exporter, they actually want you to get a Ore Dictionary export bus. It takes a bunch of cards, acceleration and fuzzy cards. These take the mana infused ingots. Just a heads up, and there was actually one other thing, I think it's the interface that took the mana infused ingot. The way that I'm processing this right now is actually through the induction smelter. So if you run it through with rich slag, you get 3. And if you run the nether ore through with rich slag, you get 3 mana infused ore. So that's the best way, that's how I'm processing it right now. Now, I will say that, we could get ore quintupling set up at any point. That's how we're going to process that long term. Just for right now, I'm just kind of doing it this way. So until we get the ore processing system up and going. Okay, so I guess what we're going to do is we are going to come up here above the ME drives, I think, just to kind of give us a little bit more room to work with. And then we'll have just some ME glass cable come out, and ME glass cable over here as well. And then on this side we're going to have an interface, and then we'll have a storage bus plugged onto it, and then the cable there. Okay, and we got the Network Apprentice achievement. That is, reach 8 channels using devices on a network. Okay, so now what we can do is then we can set up our ME drives, like bang, 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 bang. And then if I was to pull out this, throw it into here, I actually just realized I forgot to actually plug up power to this, so give me just a moment here. Totally forgot power. I'll tell you what, probably the best way to do this would be put an ME drive right there, and then we'll just plug up quartz fiber onto that, and glass cable. Okay, so now if we plug up our ME drives, throw in our storage cell, and if we take a look here, our Azure blocks are in there. However, of course, we're only using 7 out of 8 channels. That is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 for all the ME drives, and then 1 for the storage bus. Even though technically we've got more than 7 channels. But it works perfectly for storage, so you can pull things out, and you can see that now it has 0 items. You can throw things in, and it's got 1 item. So there we go. So we have kind of like a small little super soaring drive over here. And then what I figure is we'll probably start going through all these chests here and just grabbing all this junk out. All these things, they can now go into our AE system. And the nice thing is our AE system should handle things a lot better, honestly, than our logistics system did. Because our logistics system, of course, we ended up with things, terrible, terrible things like this. And AE shouldn't have any issues with that. It should work perfectly fine. So We have a bit of setup to do, a bit of changing things over and all that fun stuff, but it'll just take time, and then we'll be up and running. So what, I'm gonna go ahead and order 2 more of these just so I can fill out that section, because it's gonna bother me otherwise. And there we go. And probably what we'll do is quartz glass, maybe. I don't know. I'll probably do some kind of glass pane inside of there. I don't know. I've still got a lot of stuff to figure out how I want to do it, you know, for the decorative aspect of it. But that's something that's just kind of going to kind of evolve as we go with this, I think. Okay, and I was thinking, I said that next episode we're going to be working on auto crafting. Change of plans. We're not going to be ready to do auto crafting next episode. Next episode, we're actually going to be working on converting over a lot of this stuff. Because, you know, like I said, I don't want to tear up the logistics pipe system this episode, so you guys have it for the world download. So instead, next episode, we're going to be tearing out a lot of that and plugging up our drawer system and all that good stuff. So I will say between this episode and next, I will probably empty out these drawers, these chests. I will leave them for the world upload. But then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pull all the stuff out of those and dump it in the ME system. So what I want to do for the rest of the episode is I want to get stuff set up and in place so that we can auto craft our storage cells. Because I don't want 1Ks, 4Ks, 16Ks. In this pack, we're just going to go straight for 64Ks. Long term, we'll probably upgrade a lot of the stuff at 256, 124, something like that. We'll see. But I want to go ahead and get it automated so that we can at least craft 64K. Okay? So what we're going to do is let's jump into just a little bit of auto crafting. First up, and I mean the resources won't be in the system yet, but I can easily move the stuff that we need over into that. But I just want it so that I can dump the resources in there, request a 64K, and it get crafted. Right? So let's go ahead. There's a couple quests here that we're going to have to do. First up is the ME pattern terminal. We're just going to need an engineering processor for that. And then blank patterns are just like that. Okay. So let's get a engineering processor. And then for the blank patterns, oops, no, I need it from this. Let's go ahead. I'm going to order. And I'm going to go ahead and make 64 because I know that we're going to need it. You know, it's not... There's no doubt about it that we are going to be able to go through 64 blank patterns. No problem at all. And then we'll upgrade our crafting terminal. There we go. Pattern terminal. Alright, so that quest is done. We'll go ahead and grab our reward bag for that. By the way, the reward bags from the quest that I did, you didn't miss anything. It was a couple soapy water soap combos. We got a vacuum chest from that. Honestly, I mean, there was nothing new that we got from any of that stuff. It was all just standard junk. So, alright, so there's our pattern terminal. We'll go ahead and throw in our 64 blank patterns. And then they want us to make the particle assembler. That's mana-infused ingots, annihilation cores. Okay. There's our molecular assembler. Go ahead and take that reward bag. It's just a good one. We got Essence Bricks and Essence Bricks 2.0. Woo. Always junk. Okay, and then they want us to get crafting units. Crafting units and crafting co-processing units. These are just crafting units and engineering processors. Okay, sounds good. So let's go ahead and order. I'm going to go ahead and order like 10 of these just because we can. And then we'll get... I will say that I'm not going to need all those right now, but... And then we'll get, say 3 engineering processors. Sounds good. There's 10 of those, and then we'll go ahead and convert a few of these and get crafting co-processing units. There we go. That quest is done. We got a greater reward bag for that with some rods in it. Alright, so now they want us to make the 1K and then the 4K, 16K. So I'm going to make the 1K just because for the quest, honestly, is the only reason I'm doing this. Alright, and there's our 1K. And then let's go ahead while we're at it. Let's go ahead. I've got a 4K ME right here and a 16K. So we're going to go ahead and grab those. The 16K is going to be the one that I actually use I mean, honestly, I'll probably use all these, like the 1K, the 4K, the 16K, and then 3 crafting co-processing units. Where did it, there we go. I knew it had to have dumped it in there somewhere. So we'll start with the 1K. There's that. Then we'll get the 4K. There's that. And then lastly, we'll get our 16K. There's that. Couldn't be easier. There's 3 quests knocked out. For right now, I'm just going to put the crafting coprocessors and the 1K, 4K, 16K. There we go. So we have our crafting CPU. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to run this smart cable. I'm just going to use this. It's going to be very temporary where it's at, right? So we're just going to plug it up like that. So now our crafting CPU is online. And then we'll plug up our molecular assembler. We're going to need an interface as well. So let me get one of those. Okay, and I'm just going to do it with one molecular assembler for right now. That's fine. But we'll put this like right here, I guess. And I'm just going to run that off of there. So there we go. It's 2 of 8 channels, 1 for the interface, 1 for the CPU. And we'll go ahead and get another interface, just because we can. And there we go, 3 of 8. Okay, because the molecular assembler will transfer channels. Pretty much anything applied energistics. If it's next to something else that's applied energistics, it'll transfer channels. Okay, so now what we need to do is let's set up our actual recipes, right? So let's take a look at the Emme interface, or the Emme storage blocks. So the 1K Emme, and the reason I want to go ahead and automate this is because, of course, these things don't stack. They're a major pain, and I hate them. So let's go ahead. Let's get... I'm just going to start with wood planks, right? Because we're already producing wood planks. We're keeping a drawer filled of those. So I don't really need to automate wood planks. So I can just dump wood planks into this. We'll say, you know, if you take it like that, there's a chest recipe. And I mean, this stuff, right now it's going to be semi-automated. But having it so that I can just dump the materials in there and then order it just keeps me from having to handle these storage module tier 1s, right? And that's kind of what I want. So there's that recipe. Go ahead and get one of those. And then we'll say there's the 1K recipe. So now we can automate, now we have automated the 1K Emme storage. We'll go ahead and throw those into the interface. The 4K is just more electrotine, quartz glass, calculation processors. Processors. There's that. Okay. So we've got all of our processors now. And I will say that we're going to plug up our system, just a temporary setup. We're going to plug it up to our logistics system in just a moment. But the 4K, what am I missing? Oh, 1K. So, okay, let me order a 1K Emme storage. There we go. It's so much faster with logistics pipes. It's wonderful, actually. Okay, so there's our 4K. And we'll go ahead and just throw this into here. Then our 16K. Go ahead and order one of these. Oh, we're missing Certus and Electrotine. Okay, I tell you what. Let's go ahead, actually, and... There's our 16K. And that's how you make a 64K. Alright. So we're getting somewhere now. And then to actually make our 64K storage cell. It's just like that. And we're going to need a 64K. So looks like we've got everything on hand. If you look at it, I mean, it's really not that expensive, surprisingly. Because in this pack, they removed a lot of the cost from this. Well, kind of. Honestly, I think processors would be easier than this, but Normally you go through a lot of processors. In this pack, you really don't go through very many processors. So, I mean, the costs aren't all that high to make a 64K. I mean, I'll need to get more nether quartz and gold nuggets in here. And some more electrotane. You do go through a lot of electrotane. I will say that we're probably going to automate electrotane production. Or, you know, right now we already have it so that we can request it. But I'd like to just have a bunch of this stuff on hand. Like, at all times. Like a drawer filled. Honestly, I'm in the same boat with red alloy as well. You know, because we use that stuff a lot, and I hate waiting on it whenever we need it. So, we will probably automate that as well. But now we can order 64K ME storage cells now. So if I come over here, I request a 64K ME storage cell. There we go. Awesome. Awesome, awesome. So then I can start filling these out. I mean, I'm going to have to fill this up. Gold nuggets, nether quartz. Yeah, you can see, I mean, we're going to need a bit of these things, but it's not that big of a deal. I am going to go ahead and order a bunch of electrotane. Okay, and actually before we end out the episode, because I know it's getting fairly close to wrapping up point, but earlier I mentioned doing automatic input for these ME drives, so actually let's go ahead and do that because we have enough time right now, and that way we kind of have at least the, you know, kind of the infrastructure of our storage in place. I did go ahead and craft up some items, and I cleaned out these. I went ahead and dug all this stuff out, because this stuff's all going to steadily get filled up, right? And what I'm thinking is filing cabinets. Of course, we use them for, I'm over here for the trophies, and then downstairs we have them for potions. And I will say that AE should handle potions better than logistics pipes did, because if you recall, logistics pipes was just like, oh, you have a place for potions? We're just going to throw them wherever. But due to that, we're probably going to put the filing cabinets, I'm thinking right here. I actually don't think I want these glassed in. And I'm not going to worry about actually plugging these up right this second. But just to give you an idea, I think we'll put those right there. And then we'll have, you know, 3 batches of ME drives there, 3 more batches over here. If we need more space, I'll add it. But, I mean, you're talking, what, 36 storage drive spaces? I mean, that's a lot of space for right now. And then, if need be, I can add more, you know, over somewhere, anywhere. So, anyways, let's go ahead, and I think, you know, I said there's going to be terminals over here. I think all of our terminals are actually going to end up being over here, okay? So that way you don't walk in and then they're right here. I think it would be better if you walked in, came over to here, and then there's all the terminals, right? So I think what we're going to do is we're going to have, like, these 4 slots are going to be access terminals for our system. So we're going to have, like, maybe a crafting terminal, I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to have, like, actually I could be plugging these up. I did make some smart cable and a little bit of dense cable, some P2Ps, some storage buses. We're going to use all that stuff right here, right now. So let me go ahead and just pull this stuff out. Okay, we're going to eventually use all 6 of those slots. Not right this second, but we will. But we're going to put, let's see, I guess we would have them be right up here, I think. So we're going to have our smart cable here, and I will end up putting a cable facade on all of this stuff, but I'm not in any rush right now. And actually, this one isn't going to be connected to this system. So what I'm thinking is, actually I think they're in this bag. This bag. Yeah. Gas terminal, fluid terminal, and then we've got our pattern terminal. So what we'll do is we'll have, like, this one right here is going to be maybe a crafting terminal, right? And I don't have an extra crafting terminal right now. And then this one right here is going to be a pattern terminal. And depending, of course, on what color cable that you use, it dictates what color the terminal is. So that's why I went with light blue, because it kind of matches this room a little bit better. And then maybe right here is going to be gas terminal. And then we're going to have fluid terminal right there, because we will do fluid and gas storage. And then up here is going to be an interface terminal. Okay, that's my plan. If we take a look here, that should pretty much cover all the bases. There's really no sense in getting a standard terminal in a normal AE system, so really you just need a pattern terminal, fluid, gas, interface. Crafting you can do from the pattern terminal, but personally I prefer doing it through the crafting terminal. I think it works a little bit better for crafting purposes. So anyways, that's the plan for right there. And then right here, I've actually got some cyan dye, okay? Or not cyan dye, cyan cables. I guess these came from a reward at some point or something. I don't know. Maybe a reward bag is what I'm assuming. But the cyan cables is what we're going to actually use for this last channel. Okay, so we're going to put cyan cable line right there. And we're just going to put an Emme terminal right there. And this isn't going to be something that we access all that often. And I will say that long term, this whole system will be automatically managed by the AE system. But right now, we'll do it kind of semi-automatic, manual-ish. So, but let's go ahead and plug this line up so we can have access to our pattern terminal and stuff. And actually, let me go ahead and throw these into there. Basically, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do another controller right here. I did craft 2 of these. And so we'll just go ahead and remove, say, this one. Yeah, it should be fine. We'll put that there. And then we'll do our dense light blue cable line. And then we'll connect a P2P onto that. And then just Fluix smart cable right there. And then we'll come over here and pretty much do the same thing that we did before. I guess it would be okay for it to run up through this. That shouldn't be any kind of problem. So we'll just bring it along through here. Just like that. We'll have our smart cable line come down like that. Then we'll have a dense cable right there, and we'll have our P2P plug into that, and then just our smart Fluix down through here. And then we just have to copy our settings. And put them into there. Devices online. Now we have access to all those items. Wonderful. Wonderful. And right now we're using 2 channels on this line right now. One for that P2P, one for that P2P. So, like I said, if you guys have any questions about P2P and stuff, I have covered that in detail in my AE2 and AE2 tips and tricks series forever ago. So, it's actually pretty simple. But anyways, now we need to actually do this cyan line, and I will say that this line is actually going to be completely separate from our normal AE system. That's why I did it in cyan line, so it doesn't even try to connect to these light blue lines. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to have this come out, and what I'm actually going to have a controller like right here. Okay, and then let me get some quartz cable so that we can get power from our current system. We'll just grab a piece of that quartz fiber. I'm also going to use that. And we'll just plug this onto the bottom. We'll bring that cable back. And there we go. So this has power now, but it's not actually doing anything, right? Well, now, let's go ahead and remove that. And our actual cable line, I'm actually going to remove this as well. Okay. And we're going to have to facade this whole back wall because I need to run cables back through here. But what we're going to do is, for example, what we're going to do is we're going to have then smart cable come out, and technically there'll be a line here. Eventually I'll change it over. I'm going to do a super soaring drive, but I've got to craft up some more storage buses and all that mess. Because we'll have basically a line there, and then we'll have a line come out. I'll tell you what, actually, I'll probably end up eventually doing dense cable initially that comes out of this, and then it'll come out and use some channels here and use some channels here. But for right now, I'm just going to do it quick and cheap, right? So we'll have our cyan cable come through, and then we're going to put storage buses onto the back of this. Just like that, and then storage buses right like that as well. And then I was to plug up all of these like that. Now what I can do is, if I was to pull out these drives and I came over to this terminal and just threw the drives into this terminal, you can see they get dumped into this ME drive automatically. So basically what I'm doing is I'm using these ME drives as storage containers. And of course the only thing they can hold is drives, right? So any drives that I throw into the system automatically get put into one of these ME drives. And so what we'll do is we'll have like 333, or I'm sorry, 666, and then 666. Mark of the beast, right? And we'll have them all plugged up so we can just throw storage drives in there. And eventually we'll have it automated so that anytime the system needs a storage drive, basically what will happen is, say this one gets filled, then this one gets filled, then this one gets its first item in it, then the system will request another one and throw it into one of the ME drives. So probably, honestly, probably next episode we'll get that automated, because we'll be able to plug up our system and have access to all of our items. But right now, of course, the majority of our items we don't have access to. Well, really almost all of our items we don't have access to, because I want to leave the logistics pipe system for the world upload. So, but we will get into that next episode, and we'll actually start getting all of our drawer systems plugged up and all this stuff plugged up, and yeah, really get a lot of our ME system expanded upon. Okay, we got the basics done, we got some nice storage setup going. Now I can glass these in and not worry about putting drives into those and all that stuff. So it's a step in the right direction anyways. But anyways, with that, I am going to end out the episode here. Next episode, we'll really hammer away at some ME and cleaning up the logistics network, okay? Maybe do a little bit with auto crafting, get a little bit of that stuff set up so that we can make ME, AE2 related stuff a bit easier. And the majority of the episode will be tearing out logistics and replacing it with AE and doing some stuff with that. So, anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, as always, be sure and hit that like button and go ahead and subscribe if you're not already for more daily videos. Also, I do apologize. I know this episode's coming in a little bit late. Of course, this past weekend was my birthday, and I was actually ended up being super busy all weekend. So, do apologize about that, but we should be back on track now. So, anyways, I will see you guys next time. Until then, as always, do take care, stay safe, and I will see you guys then.